like ice cream, like Cold Stone, like where they flip it and stuff like that. I digress a lot. This is going to be one of those episodes where I have a lot of editing to do. Yay! Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Consequences of Communication Podcast, episode 3, Building Relationships, Self. My name is Tyler. I'm going to be your host. I'm so glad you're here joining me today. I do appreciate that. Today, we're going to, specifically what we're doing and going to be talking about with building relationships with ourselves is going to be our self-esteem, self-confidence, and self-discipline. Those are the 3 real key points about building yourself and making sure that you're yourself and that you're truthful to that. So before we get into those, what do you hear when you think of the word relationship? Is it romantic? Is it friendship? Is it what you have with people? Is it something observed as a cause and effect, as in scientific? The answer is yes. The word relationship means all of those things. And it has the connotation of meaning romantic and typical, like if you're just casually mentioning. So the relationship, meaning that the relationship I have with a romantic interest or romantic partner, and that's not how we exclusively use the word here on Consequences of Communication Podcast. We use it in all aspects. However, I am going to do my best, as I said in I think it was Ground Rules, episode 1, that I'm going to say blank relationship. Like the only exception is friendship. In the dating relationship, in the business relationship, in the parent relationship, or the family relationship. I want to preface today with, if you are wondering where to start with your own self-improvement, first, find someone who is exhibiting the quality that you want. For example, if someone is really great at time management and you suck at time management and you really need to work on your time management so you can show up on time, so you can be reliable to your friends, your family, your romantic interests, whatever that may be, because everybody likes the reliability of being able to be counted on or having someone to count on. I have like 4 best friends that I can count on them for anything. It may take some time, and I understand that, but then there's a couple best friends that I know that will pick up pretty much no matter when I call, which is great. Everybody likes that. So if you want to work on your time management skills, then find someone who is really great at time management, who's like always on time, who's reliable or seen as reliable, and then see what, if you can, have a conversation with them. If not, then just make note of what they discuss about what time management is and how they work with their time management and make time work for them instead of them working for time. And then start implementing what they say and what they teach into you into what you're doing. That way you can start improving on your time management skills. It will take some time, but little progress each day is going to get you there. Working on yourself 1% a day in a skill is only 14 minutes and 20 seconds. I believe that's what it was. I did the calculation. This is like the second or third time I'm recording this video. The first time the audio was garbage. So hopefully I've adjusted that for here. But I did the calculation there where 1% of a day is, so 24 hours in a day. So you have 24. So then 10% is 2.4 hours a day. So then 1% of 24 hours, you move the decimal over again to where it's 0.24 hours. So 0.24 times 60, because 60 hours in the or 60 minutes in an hour, gives you 14 minutes and 20 seconds, which is 1% of a day. But if you work on a skill, 1% each day over the course of a year, it's not 365%, 1% each day, because it's a compounded effect. So it ends up being something like either 800 or 1,000 or something. I can't remember the exact number for that, but that's phenomenally different. It is fantastic just to work on that, and you work on it, you're going to be better in 6 months than the majority of everybody on the world on that particular skill, is what I have heard from several people. So Self-esteem, that is definitely something that we need to work at. And in the last episode, we more or less touched on this a little bit, at least stopping and dealing with negative self-esteem. Because, self-esteem is positive and negative. Speak life to yourself. Speaking your mind or making your mindset correct in a positive manner, so that you can then move forward with a lot of the goals that you have in life and where you see yourself in the future and where you want to be in the future. Self-esteem is how you see yourself. Do you see yourself through negative lenses? I hope not. And if not, you should see the last episode that helped with that. Episode 2, self-talk. If you see yourself in a positive light, then you have positive self-esteem. And what I mean by seeing yourself is not how you talk to yourself. It's how you see yourself. Like, have you ever been in a situation where in the moment you don't think about really what's happening, and then after the situation's resolved or the situation's done at that moment, you look back and you start analyzing it, and you're like, well, I should have said this, should have said this, should have said that, should have said that. This would have been better. It's kind of like that, but then removing yourself from that situation is really what I'm referring to. So given the time, you removed yourself from that situation so you can analyze it. So when you take a step back and you look at your life and you're like, hey, am I paying the bills on time? Am I maintaining the friendships that I have? Or am I maintaining the other relationships that I have? Are those in good standing so I can keep a job, so I can have coworkers help me out when I need it? Like, am I somebody that I want to work with? That's another big check question for me, like to check yourself. Am I doing things that in the work environment that I want to be working with the people that I am, like how I am at work? And at home, am I living my home life the way that I want to live with somebody, like to somebody comparable? Am I cleaning up after myself? Am I maintaining the yard? Am I paying all my bills on time? Like all of that stuff. So there's those kind of questions to ask and kind of remove yourself and get that perspective. And you have to be honest with yourself with that in that self-reflection stage. Because if you're not, like, once you identify what you're not doing, for example, if you're not cleaning up after yourself and you're like, I don't want to live like this, I don't want to live with somebody who doesn't clean up after themselves, then start cleaning up after yourself. Like, it's just something simple. And I know that for some people, me included, like, it's almost insurmountable. Like, there's like something that may be holding you back, but you just need to do it. And it's that self-evaluation is really important to make sure that you know your self-value. Now, when you first do it, especially if you have a lot of things that you need to work on, like I did 6 years ago when I was going through my second divorce, I had to work on literally everything. My mentality, my personality, my willingness to talk to people, my willingness to meet people, my trust in people in general was like completely out the window. And the way I saw it was, if I trusted you before the relationship or before I met my ex, then I'm trusting you now, and those are the only people I'm trusting until you've proven that I can trust you. Like, that was where my mind was at. That's where I was at just as a person. And that's definitely not a good place to be. So I saw where I was at, and I saw where I wanted to be and needed to be and wanted to go, because I know what I want for my life. So how do I get from point A to point B? This point is seeing your value. Yeah, you might be disgusted to look at your current value, but how can you improve on your own value without realizing where you need improvement? How can you, if you're unwilling to see your current value and where you need improvement on, how can you accurately know what to work on to increase your value for yourself, like your self-percepted value? So if you're having trouble seeing your value, but you're like, I really want to see how other people see me, see what I need to work on, but I'm having trouble seeing what I need to work on. So let me ask some very close, trusted people that know me very well. A great question to ask is, what areas in life do you see me currently being thebomb.com at? That was a shout out to a '90s reference when the internet came out. There was a bomb.com. I meant like really good. So, in other words, what areas in life do you see me currently succeeding at, being successful at? Oh, these areas, fantastic. So I don't really need to focus on these areas too much. Okay, so where do I need to improve on in the foreseeable future? Well, you need to improve with your time management. And then if you want to take it even a step further, instead of just leaving it there, what do you do for time management? Can you help me out with that? And if they're a true friend, they will, or point you in the right direction. Because if they also suck in time management, you don't want to get time management advice from somebody who sucks at time management. You want to get time management advice from somebody who is fantastic and succeeding and more and has a better skill at time management and is better at managing their time than you currently are. And of course, with those things, it definitely takes courage. Like you have to have the courage to step out and be willing to expose your weaknesses to the people who are going to help build you and create that value, this gap in value that you have from where you currently are to where you want to go and need to be. They're going to help fill that gap. And what I mean by fill that gap is not like they're going to compensate for your weaknesses to some extent, but they're also going to help you out and help polish your value so you become more valuable to yourself and to others. Like in the Bible, there's I think it's in Proverbs. Please don't quote me on that. It's in Proverbs. That makes the most sense that it's in Proverbs. But as iron sharpens iron, another man sharpens another. I mean, the same could be said of this. And, it's not just man sharpens man. It's woman sharpens woman. Like, those two, to keep them separate. Like, women with women, men with men. That leads us to the next one, which is having self-confidence. Anybody have to fake it till you make it? For those of you who can't see me, I'm raising my hand. It's totally me. At points, like sometimes before you get to work, it's just like what can go wrong will go wrong. Thank you, Murphy. Because it's Murphy's Law. Everything that can go wrong will. So those mornings that just everything isn't working, your alarm, the power went out, so your alarm didn't go off. And because your power went out, you didn't have hot water for your shower in the morning, so you had to take a cold shower instead of a hot shower. And then the shampoo got in your eyes, and then you couldn't, like that took you some time, and then you broke the shower door. Because it's glass and you hit it with your elbow because the shampoo was in your eyes. So you had to clean up a mess, and then your dogs were barking and they had an accident while you were cleaning up the mess that you made from the glass, and then your clothes were wet. So you had to wear an outfit that you didn't want to initially wear. So then now on top of all of that, on your way to work, when you finally get your car started after 5 minutes of trying, and then you had to jump it, your tire gets a flat in the worst intersection on the way to work. One of the bolts is stuck, so you end up just leaving your car there, getting an Uber, and calling AAA to replace the tire while you get to work. But the Uber shows up after AAA, so you cancel the Uber, and then you go, that's a chaotic morning. That is a very chaotic morning, but that's what I'm talking about. Are you going to show up to work that day very happy? Probably not. But should you be happy when you go into work, or at least pleasant? Because I know if I have one of those, like a day like that, I would be pissed. That I am the kind of person that my emotions are fairly easy to read. Like if I'm having a really, really bad day, people, like I'm quiet, I'm irritated, I don't laugh, I don't smile. And if you haven't noticed from the podcast, I like smiling and laughing. If you can't laugh through life, find something to laugh about. And if you can't find something to laugh about, just think about me and me being a dork and doing or saying something stupid. Because it's tend to happen. Think of the stupidest thing that you said. Imagine me saying it, and then you'll probably laugh. Or just force yourself to start smiling, because in those bad days when you have all that stuff going wrong, the smallest smirk can shift your direction for the day. And instead of focusing on all the bad stuff that just happened within the first hour and a half of a day, you still have, if you get 8 hours of sleep, the first hour and a half, that's 14 and a half hours left. So you have your first hour and a half is going to ruin the next 14 and a half hours of the day. That is ridiculous. I know, to me, that's just a complete waste of time. Like, why would I even have that day? So I try not to let specific things ruin my day. Now, keyword is try. I try to look for that small smirk where I can, which lets my guard down, which drops my guard. Because, the chaotic stuff happens. You raise your guard. Okay, what's going to happen next? Who's going to come after me? And you're like on constant vigilance. So that's all you're thinking about is the defense of your mentality, your mind, or your life. Like, what's going to happen? Who's going to call me next? Are my parents okay? Are my brothers fine? Are my sisters fine? Are my cousins? Are my friends? Are my best friends? Are my life group? My church group? My hobby? Is the stock market going to crash? Like all this other like external stuff that you literally have no control over. You just have your reaction control over your mindset. So smirk, find something, go to the bathroom, look yourself in the mirror, take one deep breath in, and smile to yourself while saying, today is only going to get better. You are going to have a great day. The rest of your day is going to be fantastic. Say that to yourself and mean it. Like, I don't know about you guys, but as soon as I start looking myself and like looking my eyes in the mirror and like staring at myself, like I can't help but smirk. That's awkward. And I smile and laugh in awkward situations. Anyway, that was kind of a rabbit trail. Like doing that and like being able to smirk and start smiling and working throughout the day, that definitely would help build self-confidence. Pep talking yourself in the bathroom, that will give you just the little bit of self-confidence to start faking it until you make it. That one smirk that starts lessening that like defensive barrier that you placed up with all the chaos that's been going on. Like chaos, smirk. Okay, that's actually kind of funny. I didn't realize that Mario kicked turtle shells and then you could ride on him and then fly with the Tanuki or the raccoon. That's funny. While Luigi is just walking along, like, why does my brother get all the cool stuff? Oh well, all I have to do is keep walking. Just the image in my head was fantastic for that. But it's the same kind of thing. Like all you have to do is just start like let the guard down just a little bit to let a smirk in, and that continues to let the guard down throughout the rest of the day. So then after you're done in the bathroom and pep talking yourself, then you go in, do your normal greetings, good morning, like, and smile when you say them, because it's pleasant to be there. Oh, I've had one heck of a morning, but I'm not gonna let it weigh me down. That's self-confident. That's part of self-confidence, is having that ability to, despite of what's going on, to not let it affect how you treat other people or yourself specifically. There's two different ways that you could take that. Just like I was saying, you keep your guard up and be defensive all day, and then you're lash out at everybody and ruin all your other relationships, at least for the day. Or you can choose to fake it until you make it. Yes, this stuff is really bothering me, but I'm not going to let this stuff affect how I treat other people on a daily basis or despite my circumstances. Kind of another way to look at building confidence or self-confidence. Whenever you start a new job, like brand new job, you know nothing about the career field, but you knew enough to get into the job. So when you first get hired, what should happen is there should be on-the-job training of some sort, whether that's tests, whether that's knowledge, whether that's shadowing somebody, working as a team, being delegated small tasks until you like prove your ability and get an understanding of that, and then increasing your responsibility from there, whatever that looks like. When you very first start, you're probably not going to have very much confidence. I know I don't have very much confidence when I start a new job. Like, okay, what's going on? I need this explained to me like 4 different times in different ways, and let me ask questions. If questions come to mind, I'm going to ask them. So I have the clarification so I can do the job effectively and efficiently and to the best of my ability. But when you're training, like, hey, did I fold this t-shirt right? Did I organize this rack correctly? And then, get feedback and then adjust how it is before it becomes a bad habit. But when you, like, as you've been going on in completing these tasks successfully, you start to gain confidence in your ability to keep a store clean, to bake a cake, to make Subway sandwiches, to, I don't know, be a waiter, to be a tailor, to be, I don't know, ice cream. That's a good one. I like ice cream. Like Cold Stone. like where they flip it and stuff like that. I digress a lot. This is going to be one of those episodes where I have a lot of editing to do. Yay. See, me acting a fool. Take this, what I say, with a grain of salt. And for the humor that it is, and let it brighten your day when you're having a bad one. So another thing that we already touched on, smiling. But, force yourself to smile. Like, part of faking it till you make it. Force yourself to smile. Even if it's not genuine, it eventually will be genuine. Because when you smile, it releases a chemical reaction. I don't remember exactly what chemicals, but it makes it like I think it's not adrenaline. I know that for sure. It might be endorphins. Whatever the chemical is, like when you smile, your brain releases those chemicals, and you're like, okay, this is gonna be a good day. Like, and you keep smiling, it releases more. You keep smiling, it releases more, and then pretty soon it's gonna be a great day. Like, no joke, no fooling around. It will be a great day, but it starts with a smirk. So another thing to do is, especially if you're lacking self-confidence, whenever you're in social gatherings, don't go standing off in a corner and be like, please somebody approach me because I'm too scared to approach anybody else. Have the courage to go meet people, because meeting people and being personable, that in itself is a skill. Because if you can start doing, like, introducing yourself to other people and talking, that will help with your own, like, self-reflection of making sure that you're also giving yourself the grace that you need, because you don't want to judge or like judge yourself harsher than what you would help a friend with. Like, if your friend is like, hey, I need help with time management and you're fantastic with time management, can you help me with this? And then you're like, yeah, sure. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do this baby steps and incorporate it. So today, for the next week, I want you to do A and B. I want you to make a plan, and I want you to see how long it's going to take you to get from place to place, and leave 15 minutes earlier than you normally would. So if it takes you 30 minutes to get there, leave 45 minutes before it starts. It starts at 8 o'clock, leave at 7:15. The next week, hey, how'd that go? All right, well, the first day I was great at it. The second day I sucked and I kind of fell short. The third day I made it on time to one out of my 4 things, and give that feedback. But when you're doing that, you're like, okay, that's great. You're making progress, right? I mean, unless you're just a jerk to your friends, in which case are you really friends with them? But if a friend tells me that they need help with time management, and that's the kind of layup that I get, and that's the kind of feedback I get, fantastic. You're making progress. That was way better than the week before. That is perfect. As long as we're continuously making progress and not regressing back, it's going to be fantastic. If regression starts happening, then, like, instead of missing 5 of 10 appointments or 5 of 10 time management things the week before, you're now missing 7 out of 10. So you're missing more than what you did the previous week. And it's like, okay, so what are you doing? Like, what's not working for you? Are you setting alarms to leave on time? No? Okay, try that this week. Try setting an alarm at 5 minutes before you leave and when you're supposed to be out the door, and we'll see how that affects it. And, doing that. So however you treat your friend doing that is how you should treat yourself doing that as well. Because we're all our own worst critics. We don't need that kind of negative talk in our head, as I mentioned the last episode. Like, it's not worth it. We need to have the grace to do that. So then self-discipline is the last point that we're going to talk about here today. Having self-discipline to continue making small changes to get to where you want to be by looking at someone that is further down the path that you want to take. We did mention this before at the very beginning of it, but there's you're not going to go to one person for every skill unless that's Jesus. But there's also things that you can learn from everybody in your life. There's not just one person in your life that you're going to learn everything that they have from, because they are just going to be a copy of them, and that's not necessarily a good thing. And they have their own faults. So if you add their faults on top of your faults, that's not very good. That's not making progress. That's actually losing progress. So it's, hey, you are successful where I have one fault, so I'm going to pay attention to you for this one thing. This other person, you're succeeding where I'm failing in this one point. So I'm going to take what you have for this aspect and incorporate it in my life. And it's just small changes. Like I mentioned earlier, the 1% a day isn't 365% over a year. It's compounded, so it ends up being like 800% or 1,000% or something. It's a ridiculously high number of like how fast that turns over. And compound effect is fantastic. So Alex Hormozy, a YouTuber or a YouTube businessman, he's businessman first, then YouTuber second, and he does all of his stuff for free. It's fantastic. Very knowledgeable, very wise in the realm of business and breaking really like confusing statements and ideas down to a very basic level to where fifth grade kid can understand it, which is fantastic. So one of the things that he said that sets apart ordinary people from extraordinary people is extraordinary people do something ordinary for an extraordinary amount of time. Another way to say that, ordinary people refuse to do ordinary things for an extraordinary amount of time. Every decision, every day, is an opportunity to show self-discipline. In the movie 300, the phalanx formation, which is where they line up shoulder to shoulder, my left arm is holding a shield, and it's covering the left side of my body from my neck down to my just above my knee, and it's covering the right neck down to just above the right knee of the person to my left, and the person to my right, their shield is covering their left side and my right side. So I'm counting on them to be diligent and strong enough to deflect or defend anything against that shield, so I'm protected. Just like how the person to the left of me, they are reliant on me and the training that I've done to make sure that I deflect with my shield anything that comes up there. What I'm saying is, like, if none of them had the self-discipline to make sure that they were strong enough, to make sure that they knew what they were doing, that they trained hard enough, not just physically to gain muscle and mass, but trained in the skills that they needed to make sure they maintained that and were able to walk in as a unit with each other, that would have fallen apart. You would have been a weak link in that. And I don't want that for you. I don't want you to be a weak link at all in any aspect. If you don't have the self-discipline to start polishing or to take a hard look at your current value, however disgusting or clean it may be, and see where you can be in the future, or like see what you can do to get some of that grime and crud off of it so you can start polishing it without taking a look at what you currently value yourself at and seeing how dirty it is, and then start cleaning it and being disciplined in doing so, you're never going to see the gem that you could be. It's the whole diamond in the rough thing from Aladdin. Yeah, Aladdin was a street rat, could polish some stuff up, but he had the skills and ability and potential to be the diamond in the rough that the Cave of Wonders needed him to be. Or, Jafar needed him to be to steal something for him without really telling him stuff. So, that there's that thing. But I digress. So many digression. I digress so much during this podcast. The question that we asked at the beginning of the podcast is, what is the definition of the word relationship? What do you think of when you hear the word relationship? Is it romantic? Is it only friendship? Is it only family? Is it how one thing relates to another? Is it only scientific? Nope. It's all of them. It's everything. So your homework this week is something that is extremely challenging and terrifying until you start doing it. For some people. I mean, for me it is. Like, I try and be as specific as I can with words. There was a point in my life where I was terrified. And this is crazy. There was a point in my life where I was terrified at the idea of meeting people. Are you kidding? I was terrified of an idea. Looking back, I kind of laugh at myself, but knowing that I wouldn't be who I am without going through that, like, yeah. Oh, like, you couldn't even go talk to anybody. I'm like, oh, well, I can now. It's something to look at. Look at the ugly so you can polish it to be something beautiful and fantastic. So the idea of meeting people, I know it could be daunting, but go to a social event. Find a a group of people or a hobby group to go to. It's not group me. I think it's like meetups. I think meetups.com or something. I mean, you can look at Facebook too. I know they have a lot of groups for different things. Type in a hobby, find a group that's local, and be like, hey, is anybody meeting up? Hey, can we meet up in person and go over and work on our hobby together? Painting miniatures, underwater basket weaving, crocheting, drawing, rock climbing, flag football, ultimate football, ultimate frisbee, frisbee golf, drinking coffee. Don't advise going to a bar to getting drinks or alcoholic beverages. Definitely don't recommend getting drugs or anything. Mind altering, because that's only anything mind altering when you're trying to self improve is only going to be a hindrance to you. Yeah, but so the homework: go to a social event without mind altering substances like drugs and alcohol, and introduce yourself to 3 people. And the only thing that I can think of right now when I say that, introduce yourself to 3 people, is from Eminem. Hello, my name is, or I don't even know if he said hello, but so you go up, introduce yourself to 3 people. Hello, my name is Tyler. How are you doing today? Have a smirk on your face too while you do it. Pro tip. And this is going to start getting you to having that self-confidence that you need, because you're not going to build self-confidence by just thinking about building self-confidence. You have to actually do something to gain a skill. You have to do something. You have to work towards that skill. And if you joined today's episode, I would appreciate it greatly if you would like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell if it has one, tell your friends and family about it. If anybody comes to mind when I was talking today and doing this podcast, share this podcast with them. It might help them out. And that's the whole purpose of this podcast, is to help people out. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do appreciate it. Thank you for joining in and tuning into this podcast today. I know it's pretty busy to take some time out to listen to a 30-minute episode podcast, or however long it ends up being. That's the goal, is about 25 to 35 minutes is always the goal for these podcasts. So it doesn't take up too much of your time. Thank you for tuning in today on Consequences of Communication podcast, episode 3, Building Relationships with Yourself. The next episode comes out in 2 weeks on November 21st at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for Consequences of Communication, episode 4, Building Relationships, Friendships. I'll talk to you then. Well, yeah, talk to you then. You won't talk to me, but I'll talk to you then. And you take care of yourself.